Gary would have been very well served to focus on what corporate governance looks like post-closing. Who sits on the board? How many board members are there? Does he have the ability to veto anyone from joining the board? Meaning, let's say that you've got the industry dunce that you've known for 20 plus years, and he's worked for 5-year competitors. You can't keep a job. Now, private equity firms nowadays will pretty much pull anyone that has a pulse sometimes as an operating partner or put them on the board, and I've seen it. A lot of these guys provide zero value whatsoever. In fact, I think some of the stuff that they say could potentially be detrimental to the investment. Do you want a total moron who's worked in your industry on your board, and will you be able to do anything about it? It's an important question to ask because I see this happening. So board governance, how often the board will meet, what the board decides on. What do you need to do at the board meeting? Well, you're the CEO, so you're going to be presenting. What do you need to do in order to prepare for that board meeting? What team will help you with that? Is that somebody internally at your company that's going to be preparing a board book? Or is that somebody you'll have at the private equity firm that's going to help you prepare that? So understanding that is important because for the most part, board meetings will not require a lot of preparation from you. However, if you don't have the resources and you're not used to doing this, you could end up spending a lot of time getting prepared for every quarterly board meeting, which quite frankly can be quite stressful. So understanding that cadence, how the board's set up, what the board will do, when the board will meet, how you'll get prepared for the board meeting, I think is going to be very important because 90+% of mid-sized businesses do not have formal boards and are not used to dealing with this sort of red tape. Now, I do think that the board can provide a lot of benefits. And so you shouldn't look at it and say, well, damn it, now I have to report to a board. That sucks. No, I mean, the board's there for a reason, actually. And the board can and does provide a lot of value. It just has to be set up right. And you have to understand the role of the board and how you get prepared for the board meeting. So these are important questions. And what I always say is, first, again, ask the private equity firms. You're talking, Gary's talking to 3 or 4 of them now. Ask the partners what they have to say about it. And then go back to the band of CEOs. Guys, what was it like going to a board meeting? How did you prepare? What sort of questions did they ask you? Was it stressful? Get that all figured out and then compare and contrast what you learned from the private equity firms as well as their past and current portfolio companies. I think they're great folks to talk to. An important aspect of partnering with private equity, of course, is the exit, right? The front-end consummation of the deal. It's not like selling to a strategic acquirer where you take 100% of the cash and you walk away. No, you're now a partner. And so you've got another 10, 20, 30, 50% of the business still locked up with these guys. So at some point there needs to be an exit. So when you sit down with the private equity firms, the primary questions you want to get out of the way right away are like, how would you intend to exit this business? Now, if you're a lower middle market business doing 20 million in revenue, the chances of them taking you public are slim to none. So that's probably not an option. But if you've got a much bigger firm, that might be an opportunity. Either way, how do they intend to exit? When, right now, on the onset, do they think they would attempt to exit it? Well, of course, it depends on the fund life cycle and how much cash they've already committed, amongst other things like economic conditions. But at least try to get a ballpark idea. Hey, Gary, we think we're probably going to hold this 5 years or 3 years. Try to understand that to make sure that there's alignment, because you as a CEO might have certain goals to accomplish that might take you 5 years to do. And if they want to do a quick exit, that might complicate things for you. So you have to think about timeline to exit. What are they how will they intend to exit, right? Will it be a sale to a strategic, potentially another private equity firm? And I bring this up because if they think they might sell to another private equity firm, what's the chances of you having to go along for the ride? They hold you for 2 years. Bigger private equity firm comes in and says, hey, we want to buy this, but you know what? We need Gary to come along with us. Like a strategic acquirer might not require that, but potentially a private equity firm would. So it's important to understand, okay, what happens if that's the case? And I don't want to do that. The other thing when I think about exits, which comes up is a question to me all the time is, who actually decides? Like, who decides when the exit's going to be? Is it Gary? Is it the private equity firm? Well, no, at the end of the day, it is the private equity firm, unfortunately. I mean, they're going to be the majority owner of that business. They're ultimately going to be able to pull the trigger. You would likely have drag-along rights, tag-along rights, and of course, your investment banking team and your legal advisor will be able to explain to you how all of that sort of stuff works. But at the end of the day, it's a private equity firm that's going to drive this exit decision. So even though they told you they might hold it for 5 years, I mean, if I think back to 2020, we all remember what happened to the capital markets in 2020 and 2021 when central banks around the world were printing all sorts of cash. The financial markets all went vertical overnight. And so we saw a massive compression in how long private equity firms were holding businesses. Historically, it was 4 to 6 years, and all of a sudden, 2021 and 22 came around, and these guys were dumping these things because prices were just getting so frothy. And so there are economic conditions that can influence it, but at the end of the day, it will be the private equity firm that makes that sort of decision. But I think it's important for you to ask that because, I have seen certain circumstances where PE funds will come to the founder and say, hey, Gary, there's a great opportunity for us to exit this now. Do you have 2 more years in you? Because if you do, we can make this acquisition, we can build value here, and then maybe we'll exit in the future. Or if you're not really into that, maybe we'll just take the opportunity right now to exit. So how much influence will you have on that decision? Are these the types of guys that are kind of come and ask you about that? Or are they the kind of guys that you're going to wake up one day and they're going to say, hey, we hired an investment bank and the business is on the market? Again, take what they have to say now and then cross-reference it. You've got a handful of CEOs who've been through this, who have now exited with this very private equity firm. How did that go? How far in advance did they start talking to you about the ultimate exit? Was it 6 months? Was it a year? Or did you find out when the business was already on the market? What sort of participation did you have in the sale process? Were you going to bake-off meetings with acquirers? Did they keep you in the background? Did you have any choice? So was this purely a financial decision? The company was sold to the highest bidder? Or maybe you intervened a little bit and somebody was willing to pay a little bit less, but you thought it was a much better cultural fit for the business. Did the PE guys listen to you? Now, you might not care about that, but there are some people out there who are not going to want their baby that they founded and partner with a private equity firm, and then all of a sudden now the private equity firm is turning around, selling it to their arch enemy. Here at Potomac, we love to kill it for our clients. And I think that education is the cornerstone which allows our clients to make the best decisions for themselves. The more you can understand about the nuances of how strategic acquirers work, how the operations of private equity firms work, and the psychology and the tactics of an M&A transaction, the better you're going to be when it comes time to pull the trigger. If you own a business and you're being contacted by strategic acquirers, search funds, private equity firms, and you're trying to size up what you might do, take a step back and give us a call. We'll help you forge a plan, whether that exit is a year from now, 5 years from now, or 10 years from now. We'll help you think through a plan that is specifically tailored to your financial goals and objectives. So please contact us directly. I've put a link to the contact form in the description of this video, and you can also contact me directly on LinkedIn. Again, you can click on the link below to download the questions you should ask private equity. This is a culmination of 20 plus years and billions of dollars in transaction with private equity. And these are the questions that I recommend clients ask private equity firms before they do a transaction. It's probably something you're not going to want to miss. Further, if you got value from this video, you're not going to want to miss what we have coming up here in the coming weeks. We'll be doing the valuation masterclass. We'll be kicking off the buy-side M&A masterclass, and we've got a lot more to say on private equity. And feel free to share this masterclass series with somebody who you think might benefit from it. Again, I'm Paul Giannamore. Thank you for joining me today, and I'll see you on the next one.